Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the fiscal year 2023 Community Services Block Grant Annual Report webinar series. You're here today for the Annual Report Kickoff, hosted by the Office of Community Services, Division of Community Assistance. To welcome the entire group, I will turn it over to our Division Director, Ms. Sharice Johnson, the Division Director for the Division of Community Assistance. Sharice.
Thank you, Manette, and good afternoon, CSBG Network, to our states, to our territories, our national partners, and all that are attending this webinar today. On behalf of the Office of Community Services, under the leadership of Dr. Laniqua Howard, we welcome you to the 2023 webinar series on submitting your 2023 annual reports. I am so happy that we have this opportunity to engage with you and let you all know how important data is and data collection is for the Office of Community Services. We believe that if we have good data, we efficiently understand the data, effectively understand the data that you submit and that we receive, we can gain valuable insights about CSBG and the work it's doing. We can create and tell a really good story about the impact of CSBG, and we can stay connected to what the needs are across the country. So the annual report and all of the data collection that goes along with this is so important. Our aim during this webinar series is to provide you with information, resources, and technical assistance to ensure that you have success in submitting your report so that we can use that information to continue to build and improve the Community Services Block Grant and the work we do as a result of that funding. I am so happy that we have the team that you're going to meet and learn more about that are helping to carry out this work. And you have a total division, the Division of Community Assistance, that's there to support you in success in completing the annual report and also there to answer your questions. So without further delay, I just want to say thank you for attending the session today. It'll be several webinars that will support you in submitting a successful annual report. And you have the best team ever to make sure you understand what it takes in 2023 to submit a strong annual report, and we're here to support you all the way. So thank you, and I'm going to turn it back over to the branch chief, Galindo. Sorry. Yeah.
Thank you, Sharice. Hi, everyone. My name is Manette Galindo, and I have the honor and privilege of serving as the branch chief for the Policy, Data, and Evaluation branch. I'm going to provide a brief overview and also introduce you formally to the Policy, Data, and Evaluation, or PDE team, who will be leading today's webinar. Our agenda for today, we will discuss some key takeaways or lessons learned that we gathered from fiscal year 2022. Our goal is to operate out of a space of continuous quality improvement and using what we've heard and how we can better be responsive to our grant recipients. We will cover that. And we'll talk about the reporting timeline so you all have a genesis for the when, key milestones and dates, discuss the impact of the annual report and how it helps us tell the CSBG story. Then we'll review the fiscal year 2023 annual report submission and what we mean when we say a complete annual report submission. Go through some of those resources that Sharice shared earlier about the webinars that we have coming up, so you all have all of the information you need for a successful annual reporting season. There'll also be some time at the end for questions and answers using the Q&A pod. Please note that there is a regular chat and a Q&A chat, so please use the Q&A feature to pose any questions as we continue to make sure that we can be responsive to you all. The CSBG Policy, Data, and Evaluation branch was created in March of this year under the leadership of Dr. Laniqua Howard, OCS Director, and it was born out of the OCS Equity Action Plan. We are pleased and proud to announce and share with you all these brilliant staff members who are here to provide service to you all in a data and evaluation capacity, some of which you have known already and some who may be new faces. We have Monique Alcantara, Management Analyst, Charles Cheer, Statistician, Melanie Durley, Program Evaluator, Nikki Frazier, who you've heard from, our Senior Records Specialist, Kayla Lennon, our Community Services Program Specialist, and Lena Kotin-Chan, our Data Analyst. The PDE branch works side by side with our program operations branch that we call our frontline staff, as well as our financial operations and accountability branch. So all of these members here form these teams working with their program specialists depending on their regional assignment. Their contact information is on the slides, and it's also on the CSBG federal staff list on our website. And we'll remind you of who their counterparts are by region towards the end of the presentation, so you have that as well. In speaking and going through kind of the staff that'll support this work, it's important that we ground it in the priorities of the Office of Community Services under our director, Dr. Laniqua Howard. Administering high quality programs that reach those most in need is our first priority. Amplifying and lifting up those voices from the fields. Implementing cross-cutting initiatives throughout OCS. OCS not only administers CSBG, but the Low-Income Heating Energy Assistance Program, as well as several others. And then finally, amplifying connections to the Biden-Harris administration. You will hear more from my team today that kind of mentions some of these priorities, but know that we ground ourselves in this work as we do in the goals and priorities of the Community Services Block Grant, which, as many of you know, are to reduce poverty, revitalize low-income communities, and empower low-income individuals and families. To go through some key takeaways and some of the things that we've learned to help us improve and serve our grant recipients and ultimately our beneficiaries, I am going to turn it over to Melanie Durley, our program evaluator, who provides data and evaluation assistance to regions 1 and 2. Melanie? So while we wait for Melanie to dial in from the phone, thank you all as we work through some of these technical challenges. We will move to the next segment of our agenda just in the interest of time and to ensure that we leave ample time for you all to ask questions, and we'll come back to the lessons learned. Melanie, you just pop on camera when you are back in on the phone. To cover the reporting timeline, I'm going to turn it over to Kayla Lennon, our Community Services Program Specialist who covers regions 5 and 9. Kayla?
Thank you, Minette, and thank you everyone for dealing with our technical difficulties. Am I coming through okay?
Nice and clear.
Perfect. Again, my name is Kayla Lennon, and I'm a Community Services Program Specialist serving as the Policy, Data, and Evaluation Specialist for Regions 5 and 9, and it is great to be here today. Today, I'll review the timeline of how the annual report comes to be and some key reporting dates to mark. You can go ahead to the next slide. I want to take a moment to briefly discuss the annual report submission process. A key note is that this is an overview, and we will discuss additional targeted TTA, and there will be dedicated webinars to unpack these critical steps. We believe that in understanding this will strengthen you as you are submitting revisions and submitting your fiscal year 2023 annual report. The first step in the process is eligible entities submitting data to the state via either the smart forms or the state database. This should happen as soon as the smart forms and state databases are available. However, while there are mechanisms for submitting the data, eligible entities should be preparing and collecting their data from the start of the fiscal year. Once CSBG eligible entities submit their data, states should review the data to gain an understanding of the data and consider whether there needs to be revisions prior to submitting to OCS. States should consider the feedback received during previous reviews. Once states are confident that the data is ready to be submitted and no additional revisions are needed at this time, the state should export the data from the smart form or the state database to an XML. Once the data is exported to the XML, the state must then upload the XMLs for each CSBG eligible entity into the Online Data Collection System, or OLDC, via grantsolutions.gov. Next, states will directly enter the state-level data into the Module 1 form accessible through OLDC. For Modules 2, 3, and 4, states need to submit the state-level form once you've completed uploading the XMLs for all the CSBG eligible entities within your state. Once we've received all of your data, we'll review the data, and then OCS will send a review memo for each module with feedback to the states. This review memo provided asks for clarity, correction, or confirmation of the data that you have submitted. Then we'll move on to finalization mode. This is when you'll respond to the feedback, and we may have additional discussion about your data. Once you are confident that the data is ready for resubmission, CSBG eligible entities will upload their data within the smart form or state database. States will re-export, re-upload, and resubmit. OCS is offering a webinar entirely dedicated to submitting the annual report using XML files and using the OLDC system. My colleague Monique will discuss a bit about the annual report submission, and my colleague Lena will cover the webinars. We can move to the next slide. And with all that information and steps in place, here are the key dates to note for planning. These dates are also outlined in the actual transmittals released. OLDC is not open yet, but an announcement will be released when it does. The SMART form will be released on November 27, 2023. If you do not receive it by then, please email your data and evaluation specialist and copy your program specialist. The due date for the 2023 CSBG Annual Report is March 31st, 2024. Because the due date falls on a Sunday this year, OCS will reserve Monday, April 1st as the key suspension date for the complete submission of the CSBG Annual Report. OCS will be offering several training and technical assistance webinars to help you with annual report preparation and submission. These webinars can be found on the CSBG Events calendar, which will be shown in a later slide.
Thank you, Kayla. I want to check in to see if Melanie's back with us on audio. Melanie? Okay. She's still coming, working it out, so I'm going to move ahead to the next. To discuss a bit about the impact, I'm going to turn it over to Charles Cheer, our statistician covering regions 3 and 10. Charles?
Great. Thank you, Manette. Thank you, Kayla. And good afternoon to everybody. I am, again, Charles Cheer, a statistician, as well as a data and evaluation specialist for regions 3 and 10. Next slide, please. My colleague Kayla reviewed the timeline with details of the key milestones and dates as we collectively work together for a successful annual report season. We understand the when, and we want to also expound on the why. Telling the CSBG story happens formally and informally. The annual reports are the building blocks for the formal element of the storytelling. CSBG reports to Congress, which include the CSBG Performance Measurement Report, is mandated by Section 678EB2 and 678BC of the CSBG Act. Both reports are required to be submitted together to the Senate Committee on Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions and the House Committee on Education and Labor by Section 678BC of the CSBG Act. The report to Congress details not only national performance, but the expenditures of the federal appropriations. The OCS annual report, launched under the leadership of Dr. Laniqua Howard, support OCS Priority 3, shared earlier by PDE Branch Chief Manette Galindo on implementing cross-cutting priorities. This demonstrates how OCS programs not only integrate, but how they are moving the needle forward on addressing the causes and consequences of poverty. A critical element to note is that without the annual report in hand, states, tribes, and territories aren't captured in this report, and therefore their stories aren't being told. Regarding the CSBG Performance Management website, my colleague Melanie was to share the peak concept earlier, and this is what it's related to. We want to emphasize the importance of storytelling with the data to put all of you in positions to use the data to leverage additional support and resources. The CSBG Performance Management website, which relies on data collected from the annual report, is our way to help you visualize the data and share it with your state stakeholders, your management, and eligible entities, as well as across the network. These items are critical in demonstrating the impact of CSBG, and they don't exist without your annual report. Thank you.
Thank you, Charles. Now to cover what a complete submission is defined as and also supplemental reporting, turn it over to PD's management analyst, Monique Alcantara, who covers regions 4, 6, and 7. Monique.
Thank you, Manette, and thank you, Charles, for covering the critical impact of the CSBG annual report. I am Monique Alcantara, and I am a management analyst and the data and evaluation specialist for regions 4, 6, and 7. Many of you may be familiar with me if you needed assistance in prior years with submitting your CSBG state plan and or CSBG annual report via OLDC. My role is slightly changing, but I'm still here to support with technical needs. Next slide. As a reminder, a complete submission includes your CSBG annual report, modules 1, 2, 3, and 4, and the CSBG CARES annual report, modules 1, 2, and 4 as applicable. According to our records, all grant recipients that received funding from the CSBG Disaster Supplemental have expended all funds and completed their reporting. Additionally, although CSBG annual report for Module 3 is optional, OCS encourages everyone that has community level transformations to please submit them. Collectively, the CSBG annual report and the CSBG CARES annual report are referred to as the CSBG annual reports. There are no changes to the CSBG Annual Report forms this year, so it will look like what you submitted last year. Next slide. We are almost there. As a reminder, grant recipients have the option of reporting modules 2 through 4 based on the state reporting period, which either aligns with the state fiscal year, federal fiscal year, or calendar year. For CSBG grant recipients that reported based on the federal fiscal year or calendar year, you are there. You complete your final year of reporting with the fiscal year 2022 CARES Annual Report. For grant recipients that reported based on the state fiscal year and small states, this is your final year of reporting for CSBG CARES. Next slide. For the grant recipients that reported the fiscal year 2022 CSBG CARES Annual Report for modules 2, 3, and 4 based on the state fiscal year, or July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2022, again, this is your final CARES report. Please report for the final 3 months, or July 1st, 2022 through September 30th, 2022. According to your records, our records, this requirement applies to Arizona, Kentucky, Minnesota, and Pennsylvania. Next slide. For small states, this is also your final CARES report. The time frame for what you report, or your reporting time frame, is shown on the screen and is based on what we found as your reporting period in previous years. As this is your final report, the time frame may not completely align with your reporting period. For those that reported on a state fiscal year, your report will cover activities from July 1st, 2022 through September 30th, 2023, or 15 months. This requirement applies to Nevada and New Hampshire. For those that reported on a federal fiscal year, your report will cover activities from October 1st, 2022 through September 30th, 2023, or 12 months. This requirement applies to Alaska, Delaware, Hawaii, Idaho, North Dakota, South Dakota, Utah, Vermont, and Wyoming. And for those that report based on the calendar year, your report will cover January 1st, 2023 through September 30th, 2023, or 9 months. This requirement applies to Montana. Next slide. As a reminder, CSBG CARES final reporting is a reconciliation of your CSBG CARES. So when submitting, think about what were your final expenditures? What are the resources that you received that contributed to your CARES services for this final year and your final CARES individual and family services? When you're thinking about this and discussing with the CSBG eligible entities in your state, be sure to review all the previously submitted reports to ensure that each agency reported all of their expenditures, all of their resources, and all provided services specifically using your CARES funds. We'll go into more detail during the November 30th webinar that Lena will provide more details on later in this webinar. Back to you, Manette.
Thank you, Monique. It looks like we have Melanie, so we're going to do a little bit of jumping around to get us back to those key takeaways, because it's important for us to talk about the things that we've done to improve the experience for our grant recipients. Melanie, can we get an audio test? You're showing muted on your video.
Melanie, if you could put in the chat the phone number that you're calling from as an attendee, I can unmute you from there.
Just do the last 4 digits, please.
Yes.
I can do it directly to him in here, so she doesn't have to put it in.
Perfect.
One moment.
Okay.
You should have it.
There it is. It is ready.
Melanie?
I do apologize for my technical difficulties. Can you hear me?
Yes, nice and clear this time. You ready?
Murphy's Law. Yes.
All right.
So we will start with key takeaways from fiscal year 22 annual report. Next slide. We want to start by emphasizing timeliness. In previous years, OCS has indicated the percentage of grantees that completed timely annual report submissions. And by the March 31st deadline for the fiscal year 22 annual report, only 53% of our grantee recipients submitted their complete annual report on time. And while that does demonstrate an 8% increase from the previous year, 100% is our goal as it's a statutory requirement. Again, our goal is 100% annual report submission when due. And I'm sure you're going to hear it 1,000 times throughout annual report season, but the annual report is due March 31st, 2024. Accessibility. States have shared the desire for us to have our systems open up earlier so you can begin the work for a timely submission. This year, we are pleased to report OLDC will be available 2 months earlier than previous years. It's important to note that timely submissions is critical to our system capability to open earlier, as the previous year's submissions are used to build the next year's system. So by having previous reports in on time, we aim to make OLDC available even earlier in the next reporting year. Next, using what we've learned from the CSBG Training and Technical Assistance Needs Assessment Survey, anecdotal information from our grant recipients, feedback from our calls, office hours, and TA email requests, OCS is enhancing our technical and training and technical assistance provided with federal funding, either directly from the federal office or through one of our partners under our CSBG discretionary portfolio. My colleague Lena will share more resources to be made available in the upcoming week. But we also want to continue to hear from you on what you all need to better meet the requirements to ultimately serve your beneficiaries. Reporting accuracy. In Module 2, as Monique mentioned, eligible entities are expected to identify the reporting year, and there have been discrepancies. Monique shared additional information on this to ensure there is clarification on that item, and we welcome your input or questions by way of your program specialist and data and evaluation specialist on how we can support this. Next slide. Our aim in the federal office is to ensure continuous quality improvement, so the entire network is positioned for success to serve our beneficiaries, and we do this through PEAK. PEAK is our performance management framework, and through the use of PEAK, we aim to address our priorities by focusing on performance, evaluation, accountability, accessibility, and knowledge. We are consistently aiming to improve performance through the standards we hold ourselves to with our organizational standards, assessing the needs of our communities we serve through a community needs assessment, and optimizing customer service and satisfaction using the results from our American Customer Satisfaction Index Survey, or ACSI survey. We maintain monitoring and oversight to foster shared accountability and improvement in the CSBG state plan implementation and annual reporting. And through gathering first accounts from our grant recipients and individuals that we serve, we focus on accessibility to improve performance management. Further, through our congressional reports, which are developed from your annual report submissions, we are able to tell the CSBG story to Congress to support maintaining CSBG funding. Ultimately, we increase the knowledge across the network and provide avenues to fully tell the CSBG story. Thank you.
Thank you, Melanie, 2 times over. Now we're going to jump back in to the swing of things. We've covered the impact, the timeline, the complete submission, and you won't know what to submit unless you know where to submit it to. So to cover just a basic overview of Grant Solutions, I'm going to turn it over to Nikki Frazier-Curry, who serves as our Senior Record Specialist and is our OLDC and Communications Lead for PDE. Nikki?
Thank you, Manette, and thank you, Melanie, for providing key takeaways for the previous annual report submission periods and also providing an overview of PEAK. Grant Solutions is a platform for the online data collection system known as OLDC. Annual report modules are submitted through this platform. Please note that during the resources portion of this webinar, my colleague Letta will cover additional trainings that we will cover to offer specifically information on using OLDC. Next slide. When you log into Grant Solutions, you will be on this page that shows my grant list. You will see your grant list on this page, and you should also see any active grants for your state or territory. This yellow arrow to the left is showing the grant status. It will either show as active or closed. It is critical that you have your team check to ensure that they have proper grant solutions access early in this process, and we can work with users to troubleshoot any access issues. Next slide. If you require assistance gaining access to OODC, please send an email to csbgdata@acf.hhs.gov. This is for accessing OODC, or if you encounter any other issues with grant solutions. This is our new resource mailbox, and it goes to the PDE team. And now Lena will cover our resources portion of the webinar.
Thank you, Nikki. Lena is our data analyst covering Region 8, and she will walk us through some of the upcoming webinars and targeted TNTA OCS and its partners will offer in support of a successful annual report season. Lena?
Thank you, Minette, and thank you, Nikki, for walking everyone how to access OODC. One more time, my name is Lena Kotanchan, and I'm a data analyst on PDE team, and I'm data and evaluation specialist for Region 8. Our goal as the federal office is to offer continued support to our grant recipients to ensure a successful annual report season. I'll go through how to access the scheduled targeted training and technical assistance and provide a list of upcoming webinars identified in the action transmittal that was released at the end of October. Next slide, please. This webinar was a brief introduction to the annual report. OCS developed a series of webinars that go into great detail about different portions of the annual report. Please check out the events calendar for the upcoming webinars. Next slide. I want to highlight the next two webinars. On November 13th, we will have a webinar for only states that use their own database software. If you rely on using our smart forms, you would not attend this webinar. Then on November 29th, we will have a webinar entirely dedicated to Module 1 of the annual report. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Lena. While we walk you through, just a reminder of all of the federal staff here to support you, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention to ensure that these webinars are useful and we are making changes in real time to be of service to our grant recipients. We do ask that following the Q&A portion, you stick around for a brief poll to answer some questions to help us update these webinars to be of use to you. But as the kickoff, we do want to kind of reintroduce the entire DCA team. We heard from our fearless leader, Sharice Johnson, and then our program operations branch chief, Verna Bess, and our financial operations and accountability branch chief, Ms. Melissa Joseph, myself, the branch chief for PDE, and then Josetta Alexander, who serves as our senior advisor. And then on the program operations side, our program specialists, our frontline staff, we do ask that if you have any questions about the annual report, that you make it a point to always include your program specialists. They see the CSBG grant from cradle to grave. So recognizing that there are lots of us now here supporting you all, it would help us if you include everyone in on your emails. We have Renee Brooks, we have Jessica Kane, Ronika Carr, Isaac Davis, Jameer Furbush, Jane Golden, Andrew Colley, Catherine Maddox, and Mitch Navetta. We have had some small changes to the regional assignments, so we'll always point you to the CSBG Federal Contact Staff page. So if there's been a change in assignment or a program specialist, that will always be up to date for you to use that information moving forward. And then on the finance side, we have Norris Phillip and Angie Kelly, small but mighty team. If you have questions on the financial operations and accountability side, they would be your points of contact, of course, making sure that your program specialist is copied. You all met and have heard from the PDE team. Their information is here as well, and it will be made available. It's also made available on the CSBG page. We will now turn it over to you all for questions. A couple of housekeeping. There's a Q&A pod if there is a question. If you accidentally put your question in the chat, it would help us if you move it to the pod, but we do have someone on standby to migrate those over. And I'll turn it over to Nikki, to kind of manage the Q&A piece for us. And don't forget, we have a poll at the end. So please do stick around so we can get some feedback from you all. Nikki, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Manette, as I try to put my screen back on. There I am. Thanks for everyone for joining the webinar. Right now, we have one question in the Q&A pod, and the question is, can you send a link to the events calendar? And the overwhelming answer to that is yes. You give us one moment, we will put that in the chat so everybody can view that. Right, we're not seeing any other questions.
And we'll drop some other links in the chat, including the IMs that went out that provide kind of some of those key dates, as well as, of course, the CSBG events calendar. So you will have those. And as we get the registration link for some of those, it'll be updated.
Thank you, Amy. You beat me to the punch. Love it when the team works together.
It looks like we got another one, Nikki.
Yes, well, we get a Word version of Module 2. There's 4 pleases after that, and thank you. Thanks, Tina. Monique, do you want one of the team will answer that? Did you get that?
Sure.
Monique.
Go ahead, Monique. I'm going to type.
Yes, we are working on the Word version of Module 1, and we'll have it out to you guys as soon as possible with the announcement of when OLDC is open as well. So we are working on that as we speak.
It sounds like Monique was breaking up, so I'll just answer that out loud in case you didn't hear it. When we send the announcement out that OLDC is live and ready, you'll also get the Word document of Module 1. And then there was another question. Amy, you want to go ahead and read that one out loud?
Yes, we are considering switching from our state database to using smart forms this year. Is that okay? And should we still listen in on 1113?
I'll take this one. Yes, please do, Amy. That's a great question. Please do plan to join. You'll hear on that webinar some larger kind of changes happening across the federal government that'll be important should you ever switch back to the state database. We mentioned it as an invite only, just being thoughtful of everyone's time, but we won't preclude anyone from joining. It's just if it doesn't apply, you'd be sitting on the call for a little bit hearing some very technical information, but please do plan to join. And of course, let your data and evaluation contact know about the smart forms, but those should be released by November 27th.
And Walter, you can correct me if I'm stating this incorrectly, but the question is there any analytics for each state that you found of interest? And I believe that's in reference to our previous analysis of previous year annual report submissions.
I can take this one too, and I'll speak to it a little generally. One thing to note, and as Charles kind of went through this when he talked about the impact, the annual report information is used for first statutorily to complete our obligation to report to Congress, our appropriators. We have been working to remedy a backlog, working very closely with our national partners to remedy a backlog of our reports to Congress. When I started in this role, the 2017, 2018, 2019, and 2020, and 21 reports to Congress had not been published. I'm happy and proud to announce that the 2017 and the 2018 has been transmitted to the Hill. We're actively working. The 2019 and 2020 and 21 are under clearance with our department. Those will be posted to the CSBG website and do provide some highlights if you're looking for a succinct way to kind of see where your state fares. And then, of course, you all will hear more related to that performance management website, which is I'd like to say a cool way to see a snapshot of what your state is doing through the data that's submitted through the annual report. So none that I can point to, recognizing this is a national webinar, but please do keep your eyes peeled for the report to Congress. And then as we share more information about that performance management website, because you'll get to toggle and kind of see how one state compares to another in some of the domains and categories. And I'll try to put that shortly in the chat as well to answer your question.
Okay, at this time, I'm not seeing any new questions. And I'm not seeing anything additional in the chat either from anyone. So barring that there are no further questions, we can move on to the next portion of this, and I will stop the recording.